with Borderlands 4 being out for a little while now, a lot of players have finally made it into the endgame, but let's be honest, finding the perfect gear for your build can be rough. I was in the same spot not too long ago, so today I'm breaking down the 5 best legendary shields in all of Borderlands 4 that you'll want to grab no matter what kind of build you're running. And just a quick note before we get started, I'll be listing these shields in a 1 to 5 order, but that isn't a strict ranking. Every single one of these can easily be your number 1 depending on your build and playstyle. I'll go over what each shield does, how it works, and where to farm it. And as always, if I miss one of your favorites, drop it in the comments so everyone can check it out. Let's kick things off with number 5, and yes, it's got layers. We're talking about the Onion Shield. Now, the main reason this shield deserves a spot on the list is pure survivability. Its core perk, Shallot Shot, reads on armor segment breaks, grants immunity to all damage for 2 seconds. Now, this shield can roll with up to 4 armor segments, I believe, or it will always roll with 4 armor segments, meaning you can get a total of up to 8 seconds of complete immunity when all of these segments break. Now, that also means that you kind of have a cap on how much damage you could take every 2 seconds. So if you're going up against a Vault Guardian, let's say, he could only do, 3,000 or however one segment of your Onion Shield is for 2 seconds, and then, at once, then he'll have to wait the 2 seconds before being able to attack you again and deal more damage. So this thing, again, kind of grants you a small immunity phase for you to be able to get back on your feet, and you are able to do that 4 times before the shield is completely empty. It has a decent recharge rate, but again, you're mainly going to want to be able to, have, 2 or 4 seconds of immunity and then be able to get it back up on your feet, have the shield recharge, and, so then you're never down on the last segment of the armor. Now, like I said, the 4 armor segments granting you 8 seconds of immunity, that's pretty insane for late game content like drill sites, or for running straight at bosses without fear. It basically caps how much damage you could take per armor segment, like I said. Now, in terms of dropping, the Onion Shield drops as a dedicated legendary from Sludge Maw. It is extremely annoying because it's a Thrasher type enemy, but trust me, it's well worth the grind. I would try and get this on pretty much every single character. You can get it somewhat early in the entire game, and again, if you're going up into UVHM 5 and the and all of your other shields are kind of dropping off a little bit, this is going to be the one that's going to be able to carry you through most of the endgame boss fights, especially because of that damage cap that each boss is going to be able to do to you every 2 seconds. So, like I said, it grants small waves of immunity. You could get it from Sludge Maw, and, best of luck farming this one. Onion Shield number 5, mainly because of its pure survivability. Coming in at number 4, we've got another defensive powerhouse that is a little bit weird. I'll touch on that a little bit later, but we have the Cinder Shelly. Now, this thing is built for players who just keep getting melted in UVHM. Its main ability, Glass, when damaged, grants a stack of Resolve that reduces damage taken by 2% per stack up to 25 stacks. So that's 50% damage reduction. When the shield breaks, releases a Nova that deals massive damage, increased by 20%. So you get hit, you get tankier, and when this shield finally pops, it detonates like a mini nuke, scaling with all of your Resolve stacks. Now, fully stacked, that Nova could literally one-shot bosses outside of UVHM. It is ridiculously strong. You throw a crit knife at a boss, and then you pop your shield when you have all of the 25 stacks, and you literally could one-shot some of the drill site bosses or some of the world bosses around the map. And also, it has a huge capacity, making it one of the safest shields in the game, like I said. But you also get 25 stacks of 2% damage reduction, which is insane. So you get a 50% damage reduction when you have 25 stacks. Now, your shield could get knocked down, you could get 25 stacks, it could get knocked down to pretty much almost 0, but not 0, so you could get knocked down to 1. You'll get the 25 stacks, your shield will regen, and you still will have the 25 stacks with a full shield. So you could be running around with a 30, 40, 50,000 capacity shield, and have a 50% damage reduction. This thing is kind of a must-have for anyone going into the later UVHMs trying to, prove themselves, and you don't really have a super tanky build. This shield is going to be able to carry you through all of those other levels. It's going to make it a lot easier, and it can make you focus mainly on damage, so you won't have to worry about your defense too much in those later levels. Now, the Cinder Shelly drops from the back hive, which is an easy farm. If you're dying a lot, this shield will change your life. Now, like I said, it is a little weird because it does kind of like talk dirty to you. It's a little weird. It's kind of odd. Gearbox did actually had to nerf how often it talked to you. So just keep that in mind. Maybe if you're lower the voice lines down if you don't want to hear it talking constantly, but it's one of those talking gimmick guns from, the Borderlands franchise that you either love or you hate. At least it's not as bad as the Bane. But Cindershelly, it's great for damage reduction. You get 50% damage reduction when you have max stacks, and it's a crazy high capacity shield. You'll walk around with 30,000 capacity like it's nothing, plus the damage reduction and that little mini nuke nova that you get when the shield pops. You get it from the back hive. Moving on to number 3. At number 3, we're moving into shields that could crank up both DPS and survivability, like the What's for Dinner. Now, this one is personally one of my favorite shields in the entire game, and I think a lot of people would put this at their number 1, but this one's ability, Overshield Eater, gives you, when Energy Shield is active, enemies have a 12% chance to drop an Overshield when hit, while Overshield is active, gain plus 25% damage. So not only are you constantly generating overshields mid-fight, but you also get a free 25% shock damage boost while they're up. And again, this could be pretty crazy if you're running like a shock Amon or a elemental Vex build or an elemental Rafa build or something like that. This could be a very good choice. Like I said, a lot of people considering it their number 1, but this makes it an incredible combo for shock builds, like I said. But honestly, it works on any Vault Hunter. It's free damage and defense in one. Now, if you want to grab one of these, you could farm the What's for Dinner from the Vault Guardian Primordial Guardian Orgo or Orgio. Let me know how you pronounce that in the comments. But a bit of a tougher fight, obviously, because the other two were just kind of world bosses. This one is a Vault Guardian. However, it is totally worth it. Plus, the Vault Guardians really tend to drop decent loot, so you could go out there also and get a couple of good weapons. But the What's for Dinner, now, it's like I said, it's going to give you that 25% shock damage whenever your Overshield is active, and then you have a 12% chance to get an enemy to drop a Overshield. So the more enemies that you're killing, the more damage you will do, and the more protection you will have from a constant Overshield. Up next at number 2 is going to be one of the most talked about shields in the entire game so far, and it's the Super Soldier. Now, again, some people may put this at their number 1, but personally, I think there's one more option that is a little bit more viable for every single character. But its signature ability, Power Play, turns you into exactly that. Now, when Energy Shield fills, grants an Overshield, while full, grants plus 25% fire rate, plus 25% movement speed, and regenerates 1 ammo per second. So now, obviously, the ammo per second, not really the biggest draw of this shield. It's mainly going to be the plus 25% fire rate and the plus 25% movement speed. Again, if you're playing on Rafa, this is going to be the shield that you're probably going to be running all of the time, considering you constantly can have an Overshield and you also will have infinite ammo, so why not get an extra 25% fire rate and an extra 25% movement speed? So as soon as your shield charges, you basically become a literal killing machine. You move faster, shoot faster, and again, your ammo does slowly regenerate. Perfect for mobbing or endless drill site runs. Now, it's versatile and it fits on any character or build. Like I said, it does turn you into a Super Soldier. Like I said, one of the most talked about shields in the entire game, and if you want one for yourself, you could farm the Super Soldier, from Vile Lecter. Again, a little bit of a tougher boss. It has 2 phases, but the shield is absolutely worth it. It's widely considered one of the best shields in Borderlands 4, hands down. Again, if you don't really know what shield to grab on this list or what shield will fit your character the best, this is probably the best like generic shield that you could throw on any character. Again, it gives you fire rate, which increases DPS, and it also gives you more movement speed, which is always needed in Borderlands. So if you don't know exactly what type of build you want, you just want to start going through the UVHM levels, the Super Soldier is going to be the shield for you. Before we get to our number one spot, firstly, I just want to thank you for watching the video this far, and secondly, there are two honorable mentions that I wanted to bring up that just didn't make the main list. Doesn't mean they're bad. There are so many good shields in all of Borderlands 4, but the 5 that I chose on the main list I feel like are must-haves, and these are crazy good in any situation or in specific situations. So I'm going to go over these two honorable mentions real quick. Firstly is going to be the Protean Cell, then I'll talk about the TimeKeepers New Shield, as you can see on screen. But starting with the Protean Cell, it's great for bossing. Its ability Direct Current drains your shield to give you plus 40% bonus shock damage, letting you nuke bosses so fast. Now, this thing can be insane on elemental builds, on an elemental Rafa or an elemental Vex, and then obviously this thing could make or break a one-shot Aimon build. If you want extra damage, go ahead, do the little slam, you'll drain your shield, but you will have an extra 40% damage, which could make or break a one-shot run. You know what I mean? I've used this thing on a bunch of characters, and it definitely, you could tell once that 40% bonus shock damage starts to kick in a little bit, because bosses start to melt. Now, if you want one for yourself, you could get it from Fractus, which is a really quick farm. So if you want to boost up your raw DPS while just bossing, I wouldn't really suggest you do this for mobbing, but just for bossing, the Protean Cell is a solid pick for you, and it drops from Fractus. And secondly, I wanted to talk about the TimeKeepers New Shield, the return of the Rough Rider Style 0 Capacity Shield. Its ability by new gives you 7,436 max health, and then a nice 372 regen per second, and minus 33% damage taken. It's perfect for Vault Hunters who has, you know, skills that rely on shield depleted to be active, you know what I mean? So obviously in Borderlands 2, you could run really fast as Maya, or you could have infinite money shot as Sal. So there are a bunch of reasons on why characters would need a zero shield, but it's not necessarily the meta yet, considering that we don't have too many builds that rely on breaking your shield, but trust me, future level caps will make this thing a must-have. So obviously, if you want to get the TimeKeepers New Shield for yourself, it drops from the Timekeeper, which is kind of a pain to farm, considering that you have to go through literally the entirety of the main story. But if you could farm the Timekeeper easily, I would highly suggest you go out and get one of these for yourselves, because I think in the future it may be extremely useful to literally any Vault Hunter. Again, if you have a skill that relies on shield being depleted, this is the perfect shield to get that skill to constantly proc. So any skill that increases damage or increases health or reduces damage taken while shield is broken, it will constantly be proccing while you have this shield on. Again, TimeKeepers New Shield, you get it from the Timekeeper. It may not be the perfect shield yet, but it definitely should be talked about because it is a really cool gimmick. All right, and with the honorable mentions done, even though this list isn't strictly ranked, let's be real, I think everyone is going to know what this number one spot is. It's my favorite shield of the game, at least, and this is the best legendary shield that you should have in Borderlands 4 that everyone is using right now, and it's going to be the Fireworks Shield. Now, if you know, you know, this thing is insane for both mobbing and bossing, and it comes with a few unique abilities that just make this thing insane. Firstly, it has a pretty solid capacity, so in terms of survivability, while it's not as good as the Cinder Shelly in terms of like raw actual shield capacity, it does make up for the survivability by how fast you're going to be wiping out everything on screen. Not the best for bossing, but it should be everyone's go-to mobbing shield. Now, the first effect that it has is bundled. On kill, spawns missiles that home in on nearby enemies, dealing a hefty amount of damage. And then it also comes with Missile Swarm. On armor segment break, launches 3 missiles during dealing additional damage, and I believe you have 3 or 4 segment breaks depending on what you roll. Now, those two perks together turn you into a walking fireworks show or a walking tank. Every kill fires off homing missiles that clear mobs when your armor breaks, breaks, more missiles launch automatically, killing more mobs. It's chaos, it's satisfying, and it's easily one of the strongest all-purpose shields in the entire game. While I said you shouldn't use it for bossing, you can. If you wanted to, break your shield or just kill mobs in the arena and throw a crit knife at the boss, this thing will decimate whatever boss you're going after. I've killed Splash Zone with just this. I've killed a bunch of different world bosses with just the Fireworks Shield. Those missiles do an insane amount of homing damage. Like I said, there's two legendary effects bundled together. It will clear out whatever mob you're looking for. It doesn't have the best survivability, but if you could kill every single mob faster than they could break your shield, why do you need to worry about having a high capacity? It's chaos, it's satisfying, and it's easily one of the strongest all-purpose shields in the game, like I said. Now, you could farm the Firework Shield from Splash Zone. It's such an easy drop that you'll be replacing in every few levels as you go through UVHM, or you go through, actually leveling your character up, or you go through beating the game. The Fireworks Shield is a must-have. Doesn't matter if you're level 5 or 50, you need it, I promise you. Again, you could get it from Splash Zone. It's one of the easiest and earliest shields that you could get in the entire game, and I'm surprised that they haven't nerfed it yet because it is insanely powerful. Well, we've made it to the end of another Borderlands 4 video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you found it useful. Again, these shields are really must-haves on all characters if you plan on playing Borderlands 4 for a while. All of these shields can pretty much work on any build. If I had to pick two of these shields to say that you should get and not really worry about any other shield, and you should worry about other pieces of gear to make yourself stronger, I would definitely say the Super Soldier as probably the mobbing, or probably the bossing or sometime mobbing shield, and then obviously I would pick the Fireworks Shield also, just because you can mob with it, you can boss with it. With the Super Soldier, you'll get that extra fire rate and extra movement speed, which is really nice, especially if you're traveling from area to area, or if you have to go up against a pretty hefty boss, or just if you're, again, a Rafa build or a Vex build and you just need that extra fire rate. And then obviously the Fireworks Shield is good because it just clears every single thing off of the screen, and it deals insane amount of damage to bosses if you're if you're using your crit knife and everything like that. But let me know if I if I missed one in the comments. I'm sure someone will disagree with a few of these on this list, but if I missed your shield, your favorite shield, the one that you can't live without, let me know in the comments. And as always, I appreciate you motherfuckers for watching in this motherfucking video. Good luck out there. Let me know what shield you end up going after.